bias of bias that occurs automatically and unintentionally that nevertheless affects decisions and behaviors. Now, there are a variety of implicit biases, differences, and I'm sure from the list I'm about to extend, there's probably more. First of all, there's race and ethnicity bias, there's age bias, gender bias, and of course, there's LGBTQIA+ community biases and ability biases. So having had a conversation with the executive branch of CAB, I wanted to bring to program and services under direction to help with this process of finding a facilitator or having the conversation about what implicit bias training would look like for CAB first, and then extending that to our CBOs. And why do I feel that it's important? Because working in our CBOs, we have a variety of individuals that come with passion and enthusiasm and coming probably from a place of sincerity, honesty, and integrity. But still, we all, because implicit bias is unintentional oftentimes, we still have to acknowledge and be prepared and, as always, trained. And for example, we have to go have our training for the Brown Act.
Right.
To have training for whatever within our own respective disciplines and organizations. So I just want to present this to program and services to help with this process and to get some feedback.
Wow, this is tremendous. And you know, Ozzy, one of the things that I was thinking about is that it's possible for us to be aware of an attitude or behavior, but not know that it should be classified as bias. You know, we just, yeah. What I'm going to want comments on whomever wants to, but I would love for us to deal with this and have some information that we can look at. Like Ozzy, was there a survey or a form that had questions or whatever that you took and then it revealed biases?
Actually, I didn't have to have a form, but yes, there are some tests that can be administered. There's also some training that has been done previously by the county. And at this particular time, that has been, because of staffing issues, they're not in place at this current time. So there's also organizations that provide these services. I just haven't been able to find them. So this is why I'm coming to program and services, possibly hopeful that with additional ears and eyes and resources and networking, someone might have those types of resources and information that we can continue the research process to see if this is something that will be feasible for the board and our CBOs.
Yes, boy, I am much in favor of this. How about the rest of you? Any ideas or information? Lila, I see you unmuted, so I guess you're ready to talk.
Yeah, prepped and primed, right? Yeah, thank you, Ozzy. Thank you for bringing this up, and thank you for the work that you and the policy and budget subcommittee have already done in this direction. I think, you know, I'm also very supportive and very curious. I like the idea of figuring out, you know, where is this most needed within our system, or, you know, what piece, what type of implicit bias training. You know, one of my mantras is that a lot of times we get kind of overly focused on the CBOs, and we don't talk about all of the county departments that are also, you know, funded and supported through AB 109. And so that's one thing that comes to my mind is, defining who for training and defining, who most, yeah. Do we want to do it across the board, or are there, folks that most need a specific type of implicit bias training? And I include myself in someone who, continues to have work that needs to be done, and open and excited to learning in that area. I think it would be empowering and eye-opening to offer that in the context with the CAB. And it would probably be the easiest to start it with the CAB and have everyone in the CAB, go through some type of training. So thank you for that.
Yes. Jill?
Yeah, part of the racial justice oversight body, the racial justice task force recommendations was that the county departments engage in implicit bias training. And so it did become part of the platform, and it's offered, or actually I don't know if it's mandated. Patrice, maybe you can answer better than I can on that one. I can't remember. I can go back to Lara Delaney's emails to see what the wording was, but I know, I've taken implicit bias and social justice training several times. It's amazing. There's an in-person at the county that used to be until the trainer retired, and then there's also online training. But I know it was a county-wide, I hate to say mandate, but I'll figure out the wording on that. Maybe Patrice, you remember, because you were, I don't remember, but anyway, so it does exist at the county, and it is something that the county has committed to doing in the various departments. So that's already in place.
Yeah, what I'm wondering about, Jill, is whether or not there's material that has been produced already that we can get access to and maybe work from. Do you think that might be possible?
I'll let Patrice answer that.
Yeah, we can look into what materials might be available for the kind of implicit bias that you all might want to take as CAB members. I'm not quite familiar with whether or not it was a mandate. I do, in terms of the training that was done for county departments, I do know that risk management had a training, as well as I want to say HR, our county HR department, also hosted implicit bias training. But we can do some dig, and then ORJ hosted and funded some implicit bias and procedural justice training that was done for the probation department. I want to say there were maybe a few other law enforcement agencies, and then also the public defender's office. And we have a project report that kind of gave a summary of the outcomes of that. So happy to share that with the CAB as well. But those were very department specific. So what we could do, just for the sake of time, if the programs and services subcommittee members would like, we can agendize this for more in-depth conversation for a future meeting. And then I can get a better sense of what kind of information you guys are looking for, what trainings you would want, whether it's for the members of this body or if it's for an external entity, things of that nature. We can get a better sense of where you're looking to go, and then
Yeah, and then if I could just add on to that, because I'm just doing a real quick search in my email. So January 2021, the county administrator's office sent out an email with a link to implicit bias awareness training flyer, as well as implicit bias awareness for managers training that was offered through the county. And that was January 2021 was the last time that was sent out. And it also requires a prerequisite of workplace diversity training. It's a pretty comprehensive training program we have at the county. It's done online. It used to be, there was also a class that was offered in person that was multi-days, quite a few hours. It's pretty complex. It's a pretty complex training. And I haven't found the thing from the Racial Justice Oversight Body, but it is a county-wide effort to train all divisions, departments. And I do believe they got buy-in from all department heads to do this, because every department head wants to make sure, you know, that this is something that
Sure.
their employees are aware of.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, this sounds exciting. And I'm wondering if maybe at some point we wouldn't want to make it mandatory if people are going to be on the cab board. I don't know what you folks think about that, but this is an important issue, and we might want to make sure that everyone at least gets the training in the now and in the future. Any other thoughts? Oh, Patrice, are you thinking that you might agendize it on the CAB board meeting? Or I mean, the CAB main meeting?
I think more so this committee, since Ozzy brought it to you guys and was hoping to get some feedback from all of you. So what we could do is agendize it for maybe the next programs and services
Oh,
subcommittee.
okay, okay,
You guys sort of can deliberate and give feedback, and then we can go forward from there. And if you're
Okay.
ready to make a recommendation to the full CAB to consider, then we can certainly,
yeah.
you can do that in your report out.
And obviously Crawford is on the call here, so he's hearing, you know, all of the discussion. Yeah, great.
Terry, anything that you wanted to speak to on this?
Yeah, I want to thank you. I want to, first of all, thank Ozzy for your work and your focus on this, and for bringing it up, because as you say, it's super important. And I was going to advocate for putting it on our next agenda, but that's already been covered. So yeah, and I'm glad to hear from Jill that there are existing tools. So yeah, I'm just in support of everything that's already been worked out.
Yeah, wonderful. Lila?
Yeah, and I look forward to, you know, your question, Dale, if we want to make it mandatory moving forward for CAB or not in the future. And I'd also be curious to know, I mean, I'm aware, because I got contacted through the grapevine, that Ozzy looked at a number of different sources and was trying to identify. And so at our next meeting, if we could, you know, it seems like part of the ask was training materials or a facilitator. I mean, I will say that online training around something like this is okay. I don't know if it really builds community and, you know, accesses the heart in the same way that an in-person training would. And I don't know where we're at with the COVID. You know, we could potentially have something in person, but those are just some, you know, additional thoughts that are coming up for me. So yeah, looking forward to seeing it on the next agenda and further discussing potential trainers and scope of where we want to try to focus this.
Right, right. Wonderful.
And
Wow.
Ozzy, yeah, if you can come to the next meeting to speak to that, you know, that would be wonderful.
I will definitely be there.
Good.
And thank you all for your input. It's encouraging, and definitely glad that I followed directions, because I was just at a point where I knew I wanted to wrap my head around it, and my hand and my heart first, and just finding where it was that I needed to come and definitely continue this platform, because I'm really a firm believer. And whatever
Wonderful.
I do to assist in the process, I'll be available.
Okay, Monique?
I was trying to find the raise hand button and I could not find it. But yes, I wanted to thank Ozzy for her work on this topic. And Ozzy, you also, that was one of her ideas, Dale. She wanted to see if the CAB members could be trained in implicit bias, as well as even branching out to the CBOs. But she's done a lot of research, so a lot of it was just ideas. But I wanted to bring that out, that was part of her some of her inquiry. So that's all I wanted to add to that. Thank you,
Wonderful.
Ozzy.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Any more comments concerning this before we move on? Okay, hearing none. Excuse me. There'll be approval of the minutes from the May 19th.
Daryl, sorry, I'm just jumping in there real fast. I did have a regular announcement. And so I'm gonna go ahead and put into the chat that we are gonna have stepping stones, which folks have come to on and off for 3 of our different Rubicon programs, which are now hybrid, so in person and remote. For participants, we're not yet inviting guests in to come in person to our stepping stones, but we're slowly working in that direction. And so I am going to put that into the chat, that invitation and link. And if you have any questions, you can you can email me, and so I'll put my email address in there as well. And that's it for me, but I think we have to say that we're all here maybe, I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So initially, just one thing, I'm sorry. So initially I mentioned that all members were present. And I guess at the beginning, when we did welcome introductions and announcements, we could have done roll call, or we could do roll call when we do the approval of minutes. I'm not sure which order it should be, but that's an idea I have. And Patrice can chime in, or it could be done, I guess, either way.
Well, why don't we do roll call now? And then we get that on the record.
Okay, I'll do roll call now. So Dale Harrington,
Yes.
Lila Blanchard,
Here.
and Terry Dunn.
Here.
All members are present.
Wonderful. The large group. Okay, approval of the minutes from the May 19, 2022 Programs and Services Subcommittee meeting. They are attached, and I'm wondering if we can obviously pull them up and go through them, but if everyone has read them, or the 3 of us at least have read them, then we don't need to be delaying any further. But do any, I've read them. I don't need to look at them in detail, but how about Lila and Terry? Are you prepared for us to just proceed through them?
I've read them and have no changes and move for their approval.
All right, thank you.
I can second that approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
Okay. Guess we should call the roll on that.
You want to ask if any, you want to ask if there are any public comments still.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. No worries.
Any public comment concerning the minutes from the previous meeting? Well, hearing none or seeing no hands, then we'll proceed with the vote.
Okay. Dale Harrington,
Yes.
Lila Blanchard,
Yes.
Terry Dunn.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, okay. And now we have the AB 109 survey update. Denise, inform us.
Oh, well, as you know, the last update that I gave, we did not have all of our partners participate in the survey, and we extended the time that it was available for another week, and then Patrice pulled out her magic wand and waved it in the air, and then all of a sudden all of the rest of the providers showed up with giving their feedback. So we have feedback now from 17 respondents, including at least one from each of our AB 109 community-based partners, as well as our public defender, district attorney, the sheriff's office, a MET team, H3, an ARDS team. And so we have 17 responses to date. As I mentioned at the start of the meeting, Christina and I have not yet gone through our inter-rater reliability. So this is not intended to be kind of a formal presentation about the results, but I will share with you just some highlights that we're seeing. And we'll just generally say that there are no surprises in the broad strokes of what we're seeing, but there are some interesting comments that have come forward that are worth some further attention. Broadly speaking, housing is identified. 82% of respondents identified housing as the most critical area of need for individuals returning to their communities. No surprise there. That is something that we would all expect. We also see that stable income too is a high priority, as is mental health services. Now, the mental health aspect, when we kind of pull these things together, there are several issues surrounding mental health and ARDS needs. One surrounds stabilization settings, so residential treatment and stabilization facilities. There appears to be I can't tell exactly how much, but there does appear to be an unmet need there, and that individuals are waiting a long time for that stabilization. So that's of concern. There's also concerns surrounding issues as it relates to staffing for mental health services, MET clinicians, as well as just general psychiatric nursing and forensic mental health clinicians are hard to come by right now. And so that's a broad staffing issue, not just in Contra Costa County, but it is all over the state and the country, and I would even argue the continent, that there is just a growing need within the population, and there is not sufficient staff that are trained in order to do this work. And our county is feeling the pain of some of that from everything that I can tell. And again, no surprise there. As it relates to the greatest challenges, again, within the context of COVID, what we have is issues as it relates to establishing relationships, continuity with individuals, participant retention, and just keeping a relationship alive, basically, and engaged in a context where, Lila, you mentioned this earlier, it's kind of hard to have a relationship and have something meaningful over Zoom. And so that is something that I think agencies are experiencing. I think that will likely attenuate as we continue to open up and we have more hybrid kinds of service provision. So, however, after those kinds of contact issues, the next most common issues are, again, housing and mental health and substance use services. A couple of other things that came forward that I think are, kind of fine-tooth things, and I think I mentioned this previously, that one of the MET teams reported that right now we have 4 MET teams in the county with only 2, supported by 2 forensic mental health clinicians. Come 2 weeks from now, basically, we're going into our new fiscal year and there will be funding for 6 mental health teams. We still don't have the forensic mental health clinicians available for that. So that's a big obstacle for this. The other thing that came forward, programs moving forward, housing, everyone's looking to try to find some kind of forms of housing for everybody with behavioral health services, as are we with our recent RFP. So again, no surprises there. But you know, that's just kind of a summary of what we're seeing. And my hope is that the lack of engagement and consistency with our clients will improve with, you know, the reopening up of services and again, more hybrid kind of services. But clearly, even with the trends that we're seeing population-wide, not just justice involved population, mental health, the demands for mental health services are huge, just huge generally, and they will continue to be, you know, I would expect in the coming period, still very high. So that's a big gaping hole for us. And Christina, is there anything that I've missed that you think is important just for this kind of highlighted overview?
No, I think you've covered the main themes.
Okay, so we can share with you next time, you know, some more of the details surrounding this and some actual quotes. There, you know, one of the other things that's kind of showing up as a minor thread surrounds transportation, transportation to and from custody to housing, as well as from housing to treatment, things along those lines. But anyway, I think that's it. Hey, Jana, I just see you joined our meeting. It's good to see you. Gosh, are you really there in Greece?
I was, but I'm back now.
Oh, wow. I'm green with envy, or I should say blue and white with envy. So it's good to see you.
Denise,
Yes.
would you be able to provide something in writing that could be a part of the agenda for next month, in addition to, you know, verbal reporting? Might there be something that you could provide?
I think we could provide a brief summary report.
Yeah,
You
good.
know, I'm thinking like a 1 or 2 pager surrounding this. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Wow.
Yeah.
Because that could also then help us formulate some thoughts or questions ahead of time.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Wonderful. Wow.
Happy to do that.
It sure sounds like we're going to end up with a very substantive report and a lot of stuff to deal with.
Well, I'm not sure, you know, it is only the opinions of 17 people, but across a broad range. And so, you know, it's not, it's meaningful, and it does have a lot of substance and consistency to it. And so but I do want to caution that it's, you know, the epidemiologist in me says it's 17 people, 1 person from each agency. And I want to be cautious about that.
Sure.
Because there are some other, you know, opinions in here that are not necessarily reflected in my summary, because there's just 1 or 2 of them. And those should not be basically overlooked. And, you know, we can certainly pull together a brief report that speaks about some of these other things. Like one of them is data, a lack of data. And that floated my boat, I have to say.
Yeah,
So yes, we'll provide something for you.
sure. And I'm sure that there will be some points that we would want to pursue further and maybe explore further with more people. So at least it gets us pointed in a direction. So that looks
Absolutely.
good. And
I mean,
you
I
ra-
think that's the point of this
Yeah.
for CAB, right?
Yeah.
Is to see where are the common themes, and that's what Christine and I are pulling together for you.
Right, right. And you mentioned hybrid challenges, and I think we're going to have those forever, even after all of what exists now is gone behind us. I just have a feeling that hybrid is going to be with us. It's going to be our new normal.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. And then the challenge with that is, I know for me personally, I am somebody who values and very much appreciates being in a context with my colleagues. Working from home, I find very isolating. I don't like it. I do it because it's part, and I don't mind doing it, but I don't want to do it all the time.
Yeah.
And some people need to have more contact with other people. And that's kind of what I'm saying. I am one of those people. I need to have that more contact and collaboration. And part of that is for my mental health and about what I do with my work. And I
Yeah.
like that. But when you are an individual in the community and you're isolated for a broad range of different issues, trying to find a way to make contact with people and that connectedness
Right.
in hybrid, I think it's really tough, really tough.
Well, I'm on the Rossmore Board of Directors, and we are meeting together now again, but we're doing it hybrid and because it allows more people who are not on the board, it allows more people to participate. And so we have really experienced a tremendous increase in interest and participation by residents here. So we're going to continue with that. We will require board members to be present, but the public can be both present or in their homes. And it's
Right.
working out very well.
That's great. Lila, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so I'm thankful for all the work and for this information, and I love that we're starting with the summary and the focused information that I think is really helpful for us. I know 2 years ago when we did our last survey towards the end of the year, we also got a broad reporting on the survey, and I'm just curious, what you were planning on sharing with us next time, if that also includes kind of the more long and the longer survey and what folks think on the board if we need that or not. So first what you were planning, and then if we'll just be looking at the summary or both.
So what I can share is that I was planning to provide just a brief summary report, kind of highlighting the most common themes for each of the questions.
Mhm.
Now, when you ask about what you can have, what do you want? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this data belongs to CAB. And I'm happy, Christine and I are happy to review it for you and develop those summaries for you. But the survey instrument or the data, it belongs to you. And so we can pull together a brief summary report and then also attach, if you want, an Excel spreadsheet or some other report with all the itemized answers in it for each of them. But it's really up to you. And so I would ask you, what would you like to see?
I think I would recommend both, and then quickly moving towards focusing on the summary moving forward. And I think it's going to be so helpful to have the summary. So folks could engage to whatever degree they want to with the long, you know, raw or data, but then we have a document that we can refer to more quickly and build action items off of most likely.
Okay, we can definitely do that. It's a little, yeah, we can pull something together for you that speaks to all the detailed responses, as well as who and what area of the county they responded from, things along those lines.
Thank you so much, Denise.
Oh, you're welcome.
Sounds
Yeah.
like Dale and Terry are good with that too.
You mentioned housing, and this afternoon, there is a, and I'll send the agenda to Monique after our meeting here, but it's the plan for accelerating transformative housing innovation committee meeting. And so I'll provide a copy of that agenda because, and then Monique, maybe you could share it with people in case they would like to attend that this afternoon.
And just
Great,
to
thank you.
clarify, that's the Council on Homelessness. It's a subcommittee of the Council on Homelessness.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
Jill. Yeah, wonderful.
I wanted to check in on that meeting as well. Dale, it sounds like you're planning on attending that meeting, correct?
Me?
Yeah. Are
Yeah.
you planning on it? Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
yes, I am going to be attending it.
Okay,
yes.
great. Because I know there was some conversation that we wanted to have regular attendees there. And so I just was confirming that you've got that meeting this time. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I attend the homelessness meetings, Measure X, and a couple of others. Yeah, in fact, we have Measure X coming up on the agenda here. So thank you so very, very much, Denise. This has been really enlightening and stimulating. Obviously, there's a lot of interest here. So
Yeah,
there's going
and
to
we
be
have tough problems to solve, and
Yeah.
they're not just AB 109 related. They're broad,
Mhm.
big problems. And so, you know, yeah,
right. Exactly.
there's a lot of work ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Denise and Christina, I just want to thank you for your work and
Oh, you're welcome.
and I mean the insight of the presentation and then all the work it takes to get this stuff to us.
You're
Yeah.
welcome, Terry. Thank you.
And it sounds like your follow-up to get more submissions really helped a lot.
That was Patrice's magic wand.
Thank you, Patrice. Did you have to threaten anyone, Patrice? No, you don't have to answer that.
I just use magic fingers, just typed away.
We don't want to exclude anybody. So
That's right.
that was
That's
our
right. Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Thank you so very much. The next item is a standing agenda item for Measure X, cab updates. And Jill, you can chime in if you want, but I attended the meeting last night, and there was a lot of discussion. It was a wonderful meeting, but there wasn't really anything that was directly related to cab functioning. Am I correct with that, Jill?
Yeah, so I think it's a natural process that we're seeing. There's no funding requests going on, so the attendance is very limited, even by the members, which if you understand the CAB makeup, they're made up of individuals from organizations who also we're looking for funds from Measure X. So it's really just now it's in the formation stage of really how they're forming going forward and the work that they'll be doing going forward. So it's sort of in a lull at this point in time, but they're still meeting monthly because there's a lot of business items that need to be taken care of, like any other advisory body that's being stood up. You know, there's a lot of business items to kind of figure out moving forward. So
Yeah, they did. They did talk about whether or not to switch to quarterly meetings, but decided to stay monthly at this point. Okay. Any comments regarding either the AB 109 survey update or what Jill and I just commented on Measure X by anyone in the public? Okay, then let's move on to item.
Dale,
I'm
it looks like Lila has her hand
Oh,
up.
hi, Lila.
I'm gonna take that down. Sorry. Thank you for catching that, Patrice. I forgot to take it down.
Oh, that was an old hand, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Now, item 6, review the 2022 programs and services work plan, and it is attached. So Monique, could you, or whomever, yeah, there we go. Wonderful. I have, personally, I have studied this, and I don't see any, can you enlarge that? It was enlarged to begin with. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. I have reviewed it. There isn't anything that I can see that we might need to focus on, but I want to open that opportunity up for everyone else.
I don't have any changes. Thank you.
Lila, how about you?
No changes.
Okay. Anyone from the public have any thoughts or suggestions or comments concerning this? Okay, hearing none, then thank you. Oh,
Oh, yeah, sorry, I should have raised my hand. Hi, there's just a couple of things I wanted to share on this, that we've included it in your agenda. Also, not only in order for you to review and make any recommended changes, but then also to review your progress so far as well. So you have some stated benchmarks and tasks and whoever is responsible for them. So you know, this also provides you an opportunity to have that kind of discussion as well in regards to progress on your work plan.
okay, thank you. Any thoughts along those lines? Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Lila has
this
her
one-
physical hand
yeah,
up.
thank you, my regular hand. You know, I do feel like it's helpful at each meeting to just briefly touch on each of these 3 areas. So I know we've spent a lot of time today on and correct me if that's what you were saying, Patrice, that you know different pieces of this are being brought into the agenda. I am just yeah, I'm just wondering if we can take a moment to quickly check in on the other areas and see if there are any updates or yeah, kind of work happening in preparation for the next meetings on either of these other broad categories.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We can scroll down slowly with this and take a look at each initiative.
I don't have any other updates or comments around the first area of advocacy and support of CAB policy platform. I don't know if anybody else does. in the meeting?
Not I.
Yeah, I don't right now. And
Okay.
I think that'll shift more as we see more of the survey results next month.
Yes, right. Yeah, the next category, the conduct survey of program service needs. Obviously, after we get the report, there may be things that we would add to the work plan as a result of that.
Great, and nothing to add from ORJ or from Jill, who contributes so much to our meetings on the first category as well. Anything that we should be looking out for? Advocacy and support of the CAB policy platform.
Yeah, I don't have much to add, but I would like to at least give a brief recap that so far you all have heard from some of our housing experts in the county around housing resources that are available. You guys heard a brief update from me with regards to the restorative justice project that is funded through Measure X resources. And so as that continues to be shaped and formed, as I made my commitment to you and to the full CAB, I certainly would hope to have CAB representation in a future work group or steering committee that will be formed to support that initiative. And then you all have started sending the external boards and other committees and work groups and have been presenting or sharing those updates back. So for the most part, you all have been really on target here. And I think there's just going to be more work to come as more actions are taken on these various items for the first one.
Thank you, Patrice. And that did kind of get jogged my mind or my memory a little bit around the last point there of collaborating with external boards. Have we already received just like the times that other local CABs meet? I feel like it might be worthwhile or interesting to at least try to attend one of those, or, you know, kind of split up and attend different ones and see where they're overlapping with our discussions. I see Jill's hand up too.
Well, I was just going to say, there's somewhere between 60 and 80 advisory boards in the county. So maybe it would be best to provide a link to the list, and you all could review that list and see if there's things of interest. I mean, there could be overlap with any or many of those advisory bodies. I mean, you know, gosh, it's amazing. You don't even realize the overlap, but like the Hazardous Materials Commission looks at underserved neighborhoods to determine, you know, various impacts on those underserved neighborhoods. So, I mean, there's so many of them, and I think it's up to each individual. If there's an interest there, or you see something that might connect, it might be best for the group to go and independently look and then come back and say, yeah, these are ones we think people should attend. You know, the Advisory Council on Aging, you know, deals with a lot of issues that may overlap with what you guys deal with, right? They're very active legislatively and such. And then the other thing that I was going to say, just because of advocacy and support of policy platform, is if you all have not or were not aware of our, we both have a state and federal legislative platform. And so all the departments submit what their priorities are. And then that is what the county advocates for with our lobbyists. And so that might be something that you might want to look at. Various departments, the sheriff, health, housing and homeless, mental health. There's lots of different policy platforms that you all may or may not be aware of that we're already advocating for on a state and federal level that impact our county. So that may be something that you all want to kind of look at as well, because that's a broader reach and may impact what you're advocating for more on the local level as well.
Yeah, I'm on the Advisory Council for Aging. I'm a member of the Advisory Council. And I'm also then, as a result of that, I'm on a couple of work groups, housing and transportation and so forth. So, it hadn't occurred to me, Jill, but like, because I'm on the Advisory Council on Aging, I get their agendas. Of course, anyone could get the agenda, but if it would be thought to be helpful, I could always provide an upcoming agenda to someone who could be distributed if it was felt that that was important and people wanted to attend.
Well, and there's the ability for anybody to sign up for any agenda in the county through that
Right.
agenda system. So I mean,
Right.
that, you have the choice to do that
Right.
as well.
I think it would be, interesting to take a look at that list of advisory boards, but I feel like maybe I'm kind of at capacity, I guess I won't speak for others, with the internal county boards, but I was speaking to other local community advisory boards, so similar boards to what we do here, like maybe San Francisco, Alameda, maybe even Solano, Marin. And I know that we did something early on around that. I'm just wondering if we could get, meeting times, or I don't want to make this too big or too cumbersome for anybody. Maybe I just, is anybody else interested in that, or should I just go online and look at when these boards meet and try to attend one?
Yeah, it might be helpful if we were to learn the link to each of those counties, just like we have here. Then anyone could just check that out when they wanted to.
Patrice, do you know offhand if other counties have community advisory boards? Because it's not required with the legislation. It was created in our county as a result of community feedback.
I do know Alameda County has a community advisory board, and I also know that the San Francisco County has what they call the Reentry Council, which is sort of a conglomerate of their CCP, some community representation, and other department representatives that have some kind of focus on justice system involved individuals. So let me do a quick Google search right now to pull up those links, and I can post them. At least those are our neighboring counties. You can take a look at those. I'm not sure Solano County has a community advisory board, but on your own time, if you wish, you can certainly kind of search. I would say search for their county, for the counties, make sure you use certain keywords like AB 109 Community Advisory Board or Reentry Community Advisory Board, things like that. And it should probably populate on your first search page.
Sure.
But I'll look right now for the link for the Reentry Council for San Francisco and the Alameda County Community Advisory Board.
And Monique, I saw your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I was going to basically mention what Patrice just said, because I know Nicole P had done some info. She shared it. I don't know if it was specifically to this subcommittee, but I know that she did share it, and she and I both have attended, and maybe some of your members may have attended. But yes, it was a discussion before, and Nicole did some research and provided it to one of the bodies.
Okay, so maybe that can be resurrected and shared with us.
Along with Patrice just posted something as well. So we can definitely provide an update.
Okay.
Awesome. And I'd be specifically interested in just the times that they meet. And I'm sorry, Terry, you had your hand up.
Yeah, Terry.
Thanks. Yeah, I I actually like both ideas that Jill mentioned about us sitting in on other meetings. I know that some of us do that, but it's good for us to find the overlap, you know, and get whatever synergy going that we can. And for that same reason, I think it's good for us to see what's going on in other counties. So thank you for all the information that's getting shared about that. I think we should also raise this with the general CAB meeting, you know, because I would imagine there are members in the broader committee who are interested and able, and then we'll have more folks who can go exploring and build partnerships and report back.
Any further thoughts on this?
Yes, so I guess the question I had was, can this be agendized with the larger CAB board for a discussion?
Right. Mr. Carpenter, are you still aboard here?
Oh, I'm here. I'm
Uh,
here.
Did you-
Excellent suggestion. And maybe what we could do, we have a forthcoming agenda planning meeting. And maybe we can discuss whether we want to get it on the individual agendas for the other standing committees or CAB as a whole. So yes, we can do that.
Uh-huh. Okay. Great. Thanks, Terry, for bringing that up.
Just for clarification, are you asking to review other community advisory boards and or other county advisory boards for the sake of knowing where you should direct your attention in terms of attending those meetings, or what's sort of the goal of the review of the advisory board kind of universe?
Well, what I would probably do, Patrice, is see if I could access their agenda, and then see if there's anything on the agenda that might be of interest, and then maybe attend the meeting if possible. I've got so darn many meetings going on with Rossmore and the county agencies that, you know, but I can still squeeze something in.
Yeah, and I would hope that we could, you know, just as we have a work plan, if we could see perhaps the work plans of other similar committees in the Bay Area, yeah, just find out what their tools are, you know, what data they're working off of, and what plans they're making, you know, so we're not all inventing things individually when we perhaps could work collaboratively.
So if I can, my recommendation for that is maybe having one or two CAB members actually do sort of that research to see, to look through, because mostly, well, all of them, because they're public meetings, they will be publicly noticed, and so those agendas would be available online, as well as any other materials or attachments that are connected to that. So that would be my recommendation. So that way, whether it's for this subcommittee or for a full CAB meeting, there's, I guess, a sense of what type of materials are available, or what sort of things that they're discussing in other places. But we'll certainly discuss during our agenda planning meeting to see where it would best fit.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Patrice. Those are some good reflections.
Yeah. Okay, can we move to the down on the work plan? See if there's
Oh, I'm
any,
sorry. One more thing I forgot to mention
Oh.
in terms of the expanding housing resources within the county for reentry beyond AB 109. You all did talk about in terms of next steps for this meeting to have a presentation from behavioral health with regards to some of the housing resources that they have. Given that you heard from H3, I did reach out to them and unfortunately I did not hear anything back in time to have them agendized for this meeting. But, and I was going to share this during the next steps portion in the agenda, but I'd like to propose that because policy and budget is also requesting an update or presentation from behavioral health, I believe around mental health services, and then the full CAB body is also looking to have an update on Cal AIM, also from behavioral health. I'm wondering if it might be best suited to have a full CAB presentation that would include, and I can give them sort of a you know, help them shape the presentation, but to specifically hit those few points. So that way they have a captive audience of members from both subcommittees who are interested in those topics.
That sounds great.
yeah, a lot of times I think things at the full cab meeting, because all of us on the 3 subcommittees attend the full cab meeting. So we all get exposure that way, whereas things are brought up just with our subcommittees. It may only be the members of the subcommittee that really experience something.
Okay, great, thank you.
If we could scroll back up to the second box, conduct survey. Item 2 says we will disseminate to AB 109 funded agencies. So I just wanted to check. I realize we've got another month worth of working through the data, and what's going to get presented back to us. Maybe we should wait till then to talk about it, but I'm wondering if we need to think about how, in what form we're going to present it to the other AB 109 agencies and departments. We could just talk about that next month once we see what we receive.
Yeah, in fact, I'm wondering, Terry, there may be some pieces of information that would then give us some assistance and direction.
Yeah, and I think that point there is that we will give them the survey for them to complete. But Terry, you're bringing up a very good point. What kind of report out will we do on the survey? I think in prior years, it's mainly been held within CAB, and having a survey could be really helpful. Maybe as a thank you for completing the survey, we send the survey to folks who responded, and ORJ can help us with sending that information out more broadly if we decide that we'd like to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Going down to promote a comprehensive needs assessment.
Well, for me, it seems we need to see all the survey stuff again in July to make that plan. I do see that we've got an August deadline on it, so that would be work that would have to happen shortly thereafter.
Yeah, right. Because of a budget, I think, right? Am I correct on that? The dates?
Yeah, to inform the development of your policy brief. As it states here, in time for inclusion for your policy brief and yeah, your budget proposal. Mhm.
Yeah,
I would recommend that. Yeah, I don't know what my full recommendation is right now, but just that we highlight and prioritize our policy recommendations the next 2 meetings, since those are due in August. Maybe that's at the top of the agenda, or I know that so much goes into that, and I've been in this committee a couple years now, and it regularly feels like we still don't have enough information or specificity to make those, but you know, the more we pay attention to that upcoming due date, I think the more it's going to help us have something for August.
well, in terms of our normal meeting time in August, would that provide adequate time if we made any discussions and decisions at our August meeting? Would that still fit in? I don't know what has gone on in the past.
Yeah, does that need to be a longer meeting, more like a working retreat kind of thing?
So
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that actually policy and budget for their next meeting, they're actually going to go through the policy brief as well. They're going to review the recommendations for 2 reasons. One, to see which of these still require some work or advocacy, so to speak, that should continue on. And then 2, CCP, for the September CCP meeting, the CAP's policy recommendations will likely be agendized. Now, which ones, if it's going to be the entire review of the policy brief or if it's just specific recommendations, I'm not sure yet. Haven't gotten any indication either way. But that's sort of where policy and budget is headed in terms of their review and in preparation for developing the policy brief. So I think Lila's on the right track here, if that at least you have 2 meetings to review and discuss. And in that way, in your feedback to or your report out to the full CAP, you can share whatever either updated recommendations you might have or changes or anything like that based on the information you've been receiving from the presentations and the survey results and things like that. And then I see Jill has her hand.
Yeah, Jill?
I was just going to piggyback on that, Patrice, and depending on what you hear from staff, we might need to touch bases. I'll leave that up to you. But originally the request was because the CCP did respond to each and every ask that the CAB originally, the recommendations. And so the idea was that the CCP would, and some of them were addressed initially, that they were being worked on and have been. And then it was really to review the ones that were undone still, that were either pending or undone or were put off for a later date. And so you should have that report, I think. If not, I can find it and send it to you with the response from CCP on each recommendation. I think that would be a good thing for CAB to see. That way, you know, whether or not, you know, what was responded to and what was put off and what was stated, they just can't do it for whatever reason. So there was a whole list.
That sounds great, Jill. Thank you.
So Patrice, let me know if you need that document or if you have it.
Yeah, we have it. So we can provide that to you guys.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Okay. unless there's any other thoughts concerning the work plan, we have next steps, and sounds like we've already come up with a lot of ideas. Jill, I still see your hand up. Do you have something else to, oh, whoops. Okay. So on next steps, we've already identified things that will be coming before our committee next month. So is there anything else that has come to mind that in addition to what we have already thought about? Then our next meeting will be July the 21st at 11 a.m. from 11 to 12:30. And it's 12:18 now, so we've done a pretty good job. We've had a lot to discuss. So unless there's anything else that anyone wants to bring up, we can adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your fabulous contributions. And Monique, as soon as we sign off here, then I'll get that housing agenda to you. Great. Thank you very much, everyone. Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody. Bye-bye.